was just after 10 o'clock on the 9th of March, cruising down Lincoln Road here. For those that have been following my photography in public places series with regards to Westwave, I haven't heard anything back from Alex in a couple of weeks, or lots of 10 days. He's not responding anymore. I am having no luck getting the footage from Auckland Council over the issue that would give unwarranted disclosure of other members of public's affairs to protect the natural persons, as they like to call it in legislation. To which I've said, well, and they're using section 29 of the Privacy Act as the reasoning, and yet in the same breath they're also saying that they can't distinguish me from anyone else because the quality is poor, which leaves a conflict. If the quality's poor and they can't show or distinguish myself, what other individuals are distinguishable in that same footage other than to deny me it? They also say in the Local Government's Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, they state under there as well that because they're protecting the privacy of the employees and whatnot. They also say on the information sheet that they give you the option to redact, or they may redact information before supplying it, which they haven't even broached. I've asked them several times and I'm not getting any responses. So I filed a complaint to the Privacy Commissioner. I filed a complaint to the Ombudsman of Parliament, and I also emailed Bill Goff, Auckland Mayor, telling him how this is just not on. Now, Westwave reviewed their policy to not being allowed to film at all, to now you can film, but even selfies are subject to being inspected by their staff to make sure that you're not breaching anyone else's privacy, and that you must have consent of anybody in the photo, which left me, they state now that you can't film by the changing rooms or the toilets. Well, that's obvious because there's an expectation of privacy at those places, but you can film. So that policy's changed now, so they say you can film, but under their subjects, under their conditions. You've got to have the consent. So I of course pondered a question to Alex, and the fact that if I'm taking a selfie and there's 12 people in the background that I can clearly make out, do I have to go around and ask those individuals for their permission for me to keep that photo? And also, what legal training does his staff have to make a legal determination that there's no breach of privacy by inspecting those photos? No answer. However, a couple of days ago I was contacted by Selwyn from Auckland Council, manager of customer services or whatever it is, saying he was willing to come out and see me at home and have a meeting to discuss the issues I have with Westwave. Yeah, I kind of enjoy my privacy and my private property, so I'm more than happy to come to him. So yeah, we'll just let this copper go past because he's turning his bloody things off. So yeah, I have an appointment to meet him at level 1 of Henderson Service Centre, or the Henderson Council building, which I'm about 5-10 minutes away from. I have my trusty book of legislation along with the emails and correspondence with Westwave, and I've told Selwyn that I will look forward to him being able to answer my questions that Alex has failed to respond to so far. Rosie Judd from the Lagoima team, or Local Government's Official Information and Meetings Act people, she's now also failed to respond, so perhaps they're all leaving it in the hands of Selwyn. Either way, it should be interesting. as I already gave them notice in previous correspondence that I'm going to come in with my cameras rolling, I didn't see any point in telling Selwyn that. So I'll be in there with this GoPro strapped to the body belt. I'll have my phone also there. I might even take in my other camera just for shits and giggles, along with the legal stuff I was talking about earlier. So, it should be fun. I'll see you soon. Good. Hiya. I've got an appointment to see Selwyn Pankhurst at 10:30. Yeah. It's a flash place, I've never been in there before.
From the reception.
I'm a little early.
He'll be right down. You'll have a seat on the couch, you shouldn't be far away.
Thank you. Selwyn. Nice to meet you. Good to meet you.
we're actually upstairs, so
That's alright.
Oh, thanks for coming in.
That's no problem. It's quite a plush place, this. I haven't been in here before.
Oh, is it?
No, lots of glass.
Lots of glass. Yeah, lots of glass. Are you up or down?
Good to see you.
Are you up or down? Up. Yep. 3.
Sorry.
Okay. Away.
Where's the rain stop momentarily, huh?
Yeah, I think it's going to clear up out Waimaku. It's nice and sunny, so it should be good.
It's Mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Cool.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Sally Woods.
Sally, hi. No, I'm right, thanks.
It's so hot at the moment.
Yeah. Righty.
Right. So look, we thought it was easier probably to get together, when you're doing things in print, it all gets into formal language and this and that. So we thought, let's just have a chat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just Sal and I were in the customer services and sorting out issues kind of side of things.
I think so. Cheers. Cool.
So we're not the pool experts or anything like that, but sometimes it's better to have somebody who's separate from that. So
Sure.
having had a look through all the email trail and your videos and so on, it seems to me that there's a bunch of stuff that perhaps we haven't done very well, and I think that having talked to Alex in the pools and so on, they acknowledge that there's things that their staff could have done better. But also, I don't know if we've ever said to you that what you've done has helped us to go,
That's the whole point.
it's not clear, we need to do something different.
That's the whole point.
And let's get it sorted out. So I think we've been so busy going, the
Yeah, I mean-
Privacy Act says this and la-di-la-di-la. So
Yeah, it's all legalese.
that's kind of my starting point. Now, we get it, we understand that people want to film their children. All of those things are normal, and we also understand that there's dangerous weirdos out there who want to do strange things. And so we have to have something that makes it clear and also gives the staff, and many of whom are like young kids, so they need something. If they're 18, they need to be able to go to a scary person, because when I was talking to Alex, he talked about some of the other pools where out south there's like the gang members coming in with their kids who are perfectly ordinary people when they're with their kids, but if they're doing something untoward, these young kids have to go up and go, would you mind not doing something? And so the other thing that we've been thinking is that I don't think we look after our staff well enough in that respect, that we need to make sure that they have firstly been trained with all of those things, that we support them do those, we look after them. So I think that's important to acknowledge that the things that you've highlighted to us, we are listing, we are doing something about.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and in saying that, what we want to do then is kind of to move on and recognise that bit, and then talk about the bit that you're doing. And if so, we come in here and we're saying we shouldn't have done this. We can see what's happened, but in terms of then what's happening next with the videos and the stuff, it's really upsetting to know.
Why?
And they're just people doing their jobs.
Sure.
And I think
Just doing your job is not an excuse. It didn't work in the Nuremberg trials, did it?
no, but they're not the ones who said to you.
No, of course not. They're just following what the procedures are.
Yeah.
And which is why when I asked the lifeguards on the interaction on the 14th of January, what rules? He went and got me the rules.
Yeah.
And the rules said to enrolments of swimming school programs, nothing to do with public people in a public place exercising their, Section 14 of Bill of Rights. It's something I will not stand for. I've recorded so many different things through the last 5 years and studying legalese and law. I probably know more about it than most lawyers. But at the end of the day, if someone tells me that I have to do something, especially when they're in a public servant capacity, nah, not unless I've signed up for it. And when I walk into a pool, and I've been to 3 other pools since, no problems at all. No one cares. All the lifeguards are actually watching the pools. They're not talking on walkie-talkies back and forth to each other. Watch, this guy's got a camera.
Yeah.
They're actually watching the pool. So, to me, when Alex had sent me that reviewed policy, it's good to see that you're now allowing it. Have the Ghostbusters signs come off the windows?
Yeah.
They have? Well, you didn't. The no cell phone signs all over the windows in the public pool.
No cell phone.
Yeah, well, no photography.
Oh yeah, I can't answer.
Yeah. And for him to say that now you have to have your photos inspected by the staff. What legal training do the staff have to make a legal determination whether it's a breach of privacy? They don't.
No.
So the general rule is there's no expectation of privacy. No one's been able to tell me where it's derived from.
So I mean, it's clear in the Privacy Act. There's a phrase that says, and it mentions specifically public pools, which we can send you. I think
I've already got it from the Privacy Commissioner.
Yeah, but so the gist of it is, and I think what's happened here is we've got so busy with the legalese and the things, and what we want to talk about is the practical nature of it. So something happened, could have been done better.
I've accepted the apology on that part, sure.
And what you've done is given us something which says we need to be clear. Also, Alex has been talking to all of the other pool managers, so we get a consistency again there. I think the other thing that
is he aware that Westwave's the only pool that prohibits photography?
No, so the thing is that there are a bunch of pools that are actually managed by contractors. So Mount Albert Westwave, for example, is run by a different company.
Okay, still got Auckland Council all over it.
So it is, but a licensee runs it. So what we can do, so the first thing, so it's January that this happened, we fixed the bit in our own, the bit that we had complete control over. We've clarified our policy, we're doing it, that's done.
Which I still have issues with.
Yeah.
They don't have the right to inspect our selfies. And as I said to Alex, I mean, if I'm taking a selfie with me and the kids and there's 12 people behind me, do I have to ask them all?
No, you don't.
Because that's
No,
what
you
he's
don't.
saying.
No,
I need the consent.
Yeah, no. So to be clear...
So where is this expectation of needing consent for me to take a selfie at a public place?
So what it is, it's not that. So I think that's a confusion. So you can, like, I can take a picture of Sal if he's my husband. We're in the pool, but if I take a picture of you, and it's clearly identifiable you, I'm pointing the camera at you, getting a picture of you, that's not acceptable unless I say, do you mind?
Of course. And if that gets published, then they can file a privacy complaint and get it removed. Sure.
I'm over here.
Well, it depends on whether it's personal or commercial use on that regard. Well,
There's different. There's examples of people being photographed on the beach, taking photos of girls in bikinis on the beach, and he was charged and was guilty of breach of privacy.
Yeah, but what did he breach?
Oh, the privacy.
What was it? Can you show me what that case law was?
If you really want to.
Yeah, if you can supply that, I'd love to read it.
I think it's really important that we focus on what matters. So there's no rule or policy or behaviour that we're doing that says you can't film your children.
Sure.
So that's all good.
Well, in general.
No, and if we could just let me finish. So what I wanted to do, demo to you, is like, you asked about permission. So if you're clearly identifiable, I need your permission. But if I'm going to take a picture of Sal like this, and you're baby in the background, nobody can see who you are. Then I'm not breaching your privacy. It's not clear. And we're not, there's no intention for those lifeguards to be running around inspecting all the cameras and being really precious.
That's what your policy says.
But you have a policy.
It's discretion.
You have a policy to exercise that discretion, and it means that if there is somebody doing something that's a bit dodgy, you've got a policy, it's clear. And as I said to you before, we need to give those lifeguards something that makes it easy for them to do, so that they've got the confidence. This is what it is. I understand what my job is, and here it's clear.
Okay.
And so the same for you. Like we would expect, it's perfectly fine for you to take a picture of your daughter, and there be a blurry 12 people in the background. That's not
even if they're distinguishable.
They're not identifiable. But if you're there taking pictures like this, or and I think like with that,
the GoPro, yeah.
So you could be sitting there filming me for all of this.
I am.
And which I haven't given my permission to do.
You don't require it. You're acting in a public capacity.
Yeah.
Simple.
But anyway, regardless. So I think that I could take it. I don't really care. But I could take offence to that, and you're breaching my personal privacy by doing it without having, asking
This is
permission.
a public building, yeah?
It doesn't matter, you can go into a shopping mall or anywhere else, and by entering that building, they'll have policies in place. If you enter that building and do something that annoys somebody, they can ask you to leave, they can revoke that. And it's the same at the...
It have to be a reasonable reason, wouldn't it?
No, you only have to be annoying somebody. It's a bit like at the swimming pool. If you go down there and are taking photos that are upsetting staff and doing things that are annoying them, they can revoke that. It's in that policy. By entering that building, you're actually agreeing to the policy. So if you don't agree to the policy, then we can ask you to leave. We can revoke your...
By entering the building,
even though it's a public building, we can revoke your access. If you walk into the bank and decide to barbecue in front of you...
Of course, you could be trespassed from any place. Of course.
Exactly. So it's the same if you walk into the swimming pool.
Yeah.
It's got a policy, it's got a procedure.
And does the policy override the law?
Yes, it does.
It doesn't?
And it's...
Really? So I can make a, just as a hypothetical, you just said policy overrides law.
No,
so
It doesn't mean override law, it's in conjunction with the law. So
yeah, sure, of course, it must follow the rules. But if I was to make a company grow 10,000 marijuana plants and say my policy says it's okay, that's still against the Misuse of Drugs Act, isn't it?
So we're not saying that, but what we are saying...
You're infringing upon my right to record in a public place.
No,
Yes.
the Privacy Act is quite clear.
I don't understand the Privacy
and
Act.
it calls out the swimming pools. But you know, the thing that I don't understand is why is there a problem if it's okay for you to film your children and people blurring in the background? What more do you want?
I want not to be told that I can't film in a public place because it's my right to do so. You must understand that. I mean, there's security cameras all around this place filming me. I have no expectation of privacy. And I film this for my own personal security and your accountability.
So it's a limit.
That's simple.
There are limited rights. You have laws.
My rights aren't limited. My rights I exercise. Privileges, responsibilities, obligations, they might have limits, but my rights don't. See, I'm not a typical person.
Are you suggesting that if you go into the pool and you're asked to leave for some reason,
I'd have to have a reasonable
for it. Policy. If you're in breach of the policy and staff asked you to leave, that you don't have to leave. You don't have to leave.
I would leave, but I would also take legal action afterwards because it would be in breach of it.
The suggestion might be that you have, if you sort of disagree, that you have to abide to policy.
I respect private property and public property.
Yeah, but if you disagree with the policy, it might be good perhaps to go to the Human Rights Review Tribunal and ask them as to, if you disagree with the council's policy on this, that get some sort of clarification on that.
Yeah, but if I disagree with the council's policy, why am I involving another entity? It's the council. That's why I had an issue with Westwave, so I'm talking to Westwave over it. Now they've passed me over to you guys, the Local Government's Official Information Meeting Act and all of that. Now you're refusing to give me footage which I'm entitled to because you're saying in the same brief that even though the picture is so poor that you can't make out an image of me, yet you never asked for it, and this is in these emails, that it's of such good quality that would it be breaching everybody else's privacy or other natural persons and individuals? I don't understand. How can you say in one breath that there's not enough clarity to distinguish myself, the only muppet in the pool with tattoos over him, no teeth and a GoPro on his head, from anyone else, and yet at the same time you're not going to release it because it might breach others? I don't understand that at all. How can you not be clear enough to see me and yet it be clear enough to breach others? And you also say in your information thing that you can redact information. Well, clearly, as I showed on part one, face blurring technology's out there. Every part that I've sent to Westwave, they've made a privacy complaint against. None have been upheld apart from one, and that's just because I blurred it. It's still up there. It's not the fact of seeing these people, it's the behaviour and the interactions, what's being said. Now, Susan said to me on that counter that I had to get other people's permission, and that it was because of feedback from other people not liking being filmed. If they don't like being filmed at a public swimming pool, perhaps they should stay in a private place and get their own swimming pool. But it shouldn't infringe on my right to do what I'm entitled to do.
So we have got legal right under the Privacy Act to have that policy, to publicise it and to enforce it. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And your right as a citizen is to ask if you think that we're incorrect in that, then you can seek a review of the ombudsman.
Well, I would ask.
And I would suggest, because I think we want to be clear, like we are willing to, I'm sitting here talking about the things that we're doing for you, that's all good. But all of these things are two-way. So
it's all a learning process.
So we expect you in return to abide by the policy, which we've now made clear, and we're perfectly okay for you to film
not clear on
your family as long as there's indistinguishable people in the background.
And if people are distinguishable in the background,
then you do need their permission, but they're going to be distinguishable.
how would I need, this is what I'm trying to grasp. Where do they derive the fact that I need to gain permission from them if they're in the background shot of a personal photo?
No, it's if you're actually taking pictures of them like this. We've also got case law with the person on the beach, so we're not saying a whole bunch of unidentifiable people in the background. Let's not get confused. It's if it's clearly there and you're not, like if you're there with your GoPro or your camera and you're filming somebody who's clearly your child.
Sure.
That's a normal thing that any parent wants to do. Nobody's disputing that.
And other people walking past can still be identifiable.
Filming all and sundry, and you're not. There's no evidence that there you are. There's your child swimming in your film.
So, like a wide-angle shot of going down the wave pool, and there's 20 people in the view as I'm coming out. That's not allowed.
No, because they're not going to be distinguishable.
The camera's clear enough to make out people's
if there's
identities.
A whole bunch of blurry people. Look, I think.
This is the blurry and distinguishable and the privacy point that I'm getting at. Cameras are smart enough these days. I can zoom into a wide-angle shot of a photo of a beach and make out anybody's identity that I wish. Now, the fact that you're saying if it's blurry, well, that's not clear to me. It would only be blurred if a person made a complaint about it, thinking their privacy's been breached, then they should make that complaint to the person who has the footage, and they could make the necessary steps and blur out their identity.
So they're not going to know if they're on that movie or on that photo.
Well, that's why I put a content disclaimer at the start of every.
They need to make sure that those people.
Okay. I get what you're saying. At the start of every video is a content disclaimer and a notice. If anybody has an issue with privacy, they are to contact me. All right. So you can't say they're not told. It is enough. It's YouTube's policy to give a disclaimer for eight seconds.
But I think to be clear, so we're running a public pool. We've got the right to do what we want to do. We're going to keep doing it.
And I've given you notice that if you infringe on my rights, then I'll take my actions.
So, and that's fine. So, and to be clear, so that there's no surprises, if you keep breaching our policy...
I'm not breaching any policy.
Yes, you are.
Well, what section and part of your policy have I breached?
But we're talking about, so you haven't done it yet, so if you come in...
You just said I have. You said if I continue to breach your policy, so you're implying that I already have, so what policy have I breached?
In that first incident where you were there with your GoPro filming generally, you were clearly filming all sorts of other people, not just your daughter, and that was why the...
My daughter wasn't even there, it was my two sons and their friend.
Anyway, whoever it was.
Simple matter of getting facts correct.
Yeah. But I'm talking about principles. Your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were not just filming the people that you were who were clearly your family, you were doing this other films when you were asked to stop. We've clarified our policy because we acknowledged that it wasn't as clear as it could have been.
Well, it didn't pertain to me.
So we can display it and do those things, and you've got your option if you wish to review that, is to, if you think that we're in the wrong, go to the Privacy Commissioner.
Done it. And the PINAC. Yep.
As in terms of us running that pool, if you continue to do things like put our staff up on YouTube, we don't think that's reasonable, we don't think it's fair.
Are they acting in a public capacity?
No, well yes they...
Thank you, they're dealing with public, aren't they?
But you filming them without their permission is infringing on their privacy, and apart from that...
What privacy am I infringing upon?
Your behaviour is upsetting them. And so we have a clear policy...
People have the right to be upset.
No, they don't. So
yes, we do, I'm sorry.
There's a policy that is called the Unreasonable Complaint Conduct Policy. If you're behaving in such a way that causes distress to our staff, we have got a legal policy right to protect our staff. We need to look after their health and safety. There's a Health and Safety Act that requires us to look after our staff.
Sure.
One of those things is if they're distressed and they're distressed by your behaviour, then we need to look after them.
Okay.
And those are the things that we intend to do.
Daughter. Sorry. Yeah.
So we don't want to get into an argument here. The purpose of this
Well, argue means to clarify, so I'm happy to argue all day long.
is just, we understand your position, you understand ours.
I understand that you are at the moment saying that policy is there and that your staff have have some expectation of a privacy breach by me taking a photo of them in a public place and then publishing it on a public website. Now, I'm not publishing any of their personal details, where they live, their social security number, as it states in the Act. What identifiable features aren't allowed to be published. I'm not showing them any of that. It's just their face. They're in public. There's no expectation of privacy, and your policy doesn't override that. Now, you might say that you can write a policy saying, I'm not allowed to have anybody in this pool with pink shoes. So does everybody have to change their shoes when they walk in? I mean, it's a ridiculous expectation of privacy in a public place.
No, I think that you're taking it down to ridiculous. We've got a duty.
I'm taking it down to clarity. It's not ridiculous. What's ridiculous is being told I can't do something in a public place when I have the right to.
So it seems to me we're starting to go around.
It's a circular argument.
We're going back and back.
Yeah.
It's a circular argument, and I don't understand.
To me, I think we've said what we need to do. These are the things. This is what we're going to do, and the options that you have is to, if you believe that we're in the wrong,
It's not a belief, it's a fact.
So that's not, well, no.
That's your opinion.
It's not opinion, it's fact.
I'm not here to argue that one way or the other.
I've studied it too long to know what the facts are around these things and aren't. Now you're saying I've breached your staff's policy by posting their things that's causing them an upset. Mm-hmm. Perhaps they shouldn't work in the public sector. People with unexpectation.
We disagree with you.
You're, like you say, you're entitled to your opinion.
Exactly, and that's what we've got.
So under that, we're going to take actions, and one of them might be
what actions?
To trespass you, but that's the
for what?
I think we could trespass you for Westwave if that's
for
what
what?
you're doing.
For what?
For breaching these various things that we've talked about.
What? You're saying for breaching something, but you're not actually showing me what I've breached. And I've got your policy right here.
So we're talking about the privacy policy, we're talking about the unreasonable complaint
Okay,
policy.
what part of privacy? I've got the Privacy Act right here. Well, I mean, you're being very vague in saying that I'm breaching all of this stuff. I like specifics. I love to argue in nitty-gritties. And you're saying if I'm breaching something, you have to back it. You're making a claim right now. Onus probandi dictates that you are the one making a claim. You have to prove it.
No,
so what have I breached?
I'm not making a claim. What I'm saying is we've explained clearly what the policy is to you. Mm-hmm. We've acknowledged it wasn't clear before. Now it is.
It still is not clear.
If you were to come to Westwave and film people without their permission that are clearly identifiable, then we'll exercise our right to ask you to stop and ask you to leave.
Okay. Well, I can, and you realise an ask is a request, and you realise that your request can be accepted or declined.
That's right, but we can revoke your right to be there.
Well, like I say, if you want to do that, then that would be a breach of my right to enter a public place without justification.
You have the right to challenge that, but
yeah, of course I would.
We will, if you continue
so
our staff there, we will trespass. I'm
not upsetting your staff. I'm simply filming in public. None of it is.
We're telling you are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't expect. Have you got a written statement from anybody to say that I've caused this? Do you have a written statement from anybody saying that I've done that? Do you have a written statement from anybody making a claim? This is very.
Yeah, and yes, I do.
What?
Yes, I
being
do.
very well.
And it's a breach, but we, under the Privacy Act, we don't need to disclose that to you.
So I'll find that out in disclosure. Is that what you're saying?
So just
well, again, why didn't you redact the footage? Why didn't you blur out the people of public that you didn't want to give and supply me the footage that I wanted?
Look, I think that we're not here to talk about that.
Well, I am. I'm here to
That's-
discuss all of the matters, not nitpick.
So that level of detail, if you're not happy, it's not us to talk
You haven't
about
made yourself clear at all to me.
Well, then I think we can go no further. I think we have. I think we've made it clear that if you, after this discussion, after the policy being made clear about the filming...
What policy? Can you show me the policy you're talking about, please?
The line that we've said to you in the correspondence from Alex is the pieces around it.
This here, the photography around Westwave Pool and Leisure. In order to ensure facilities are safe for all users, the photography around films apply to all users of Westwave. You must not take photos, including selfies, within Westwave changing facilities. Good to see you actually doing that, because that wasn't said to me at all. And as I pointed out to you guys, there is an expectation of privacy in around toilets and public changing rooms. So that's why now you've implied that, which you say, great, I'm glad I brought this to your attention. You're welcome to take photos anywhere else on the premises, provided the photos you own are personal use. So it would be for you to say, I'm not using it for personal use, I'm not making it commercial gain, I don't monetise my YouTube channel. So where's the commercial gain? There isn't, so it is personal use. And under section 14 of the Bill of Rights Act, I have the right to gather and disclose any information I see fit.
So I would
Do you understand that?
I would suggest that we're clearly not yet to an agreement, and if you have those things, we are not the people to argue with, so you take
Who
it
is?
to the Independent People of Privacy Commissioner for Human Rights and the Ombudsman.
You are the people saying that I'm not allowed to do something.
We've made our decision, we've reviewed it and we're supporting it. If you're not happy with it, your next steps are, as I say, Privacy Commissioner, Human Rights and the Ombudsman. Those are the three external bodies who review our work and keep us honest. So if we're in the wrong,
I'm waiting for their responses.
then they will tell us. And so, but what we need to be clear, and we'll send you a letter to
So what brought this to your attention? How did I bring to your attention? Was it through Westwave or?
Because through the Lagoima, I'm a...
From Rosie Judd?
Yes, and,
Okay.
and so my role is that I'm the Administrator of the Unreasonable Complaint and Conduct Policy for the Council, and if you're upsetting staff and you meet that policy, which we don't take an assumption that we
haven't
wanted
upset
to talk
staff.
to you to see, let's just clear the air, let's talk about what we have done, what we've learned, where we're going from here,
Okay.
rather than get all heavy-handed and go...
I'm not being heavy-handed, I'm after
please stop doing
clarity.
these things. So I think we've achieved that purpose. We've sat here, you've filmed me, which I'm not entirely happy with, but whatever.
You're in a public capacity.
Yeah. But it's rude. It's really rude.
How is it rude?
Because it's just...
Are you trying to hide something? Is
No,
there something you're...
no, I'm not.
Then what's the issue with being filmed? You're filmed all day by your security cameras, so are they rude?
So, no, I think you coming to a meeting and filming me without my permission...
I have the right under the Communications Act to record anything with any public official.
No,
I do.
You need to ask permission first.
I don't have to ask permission. I have the right to take a free and independent recording of any interaction.
I think we're all going to continue to disagree, and we've all got our own opinions.
Well, mine's not. My opinion is backed by fact, by what I've researched. You have brought nothing to the table to show me otherwise.
And so that's fine.
That's fine, that's your opinion, and that's fine, that's your research.
It's not an opinion, it's a fact, Selwyn, I'm sorry.
Look, every time there's a court case, there's two people go to court and they've all got all the facts.
Yeah, it's conflict.
At the end of the day, there's only one person that's right.
Yeah.
The other one's wrong, totally wrong. I'm not saying we're wrong, I'm not saying we're right. What I'm saying is we've made our opinion, and we're sticking to our opinion. We've got our policy,
Based
we've got
on
our
nothing.
opinions, based on information that we've got and that we've worked with, which is what you've done.
So
and
do
I
you have a
appreciate
written
that. And
complaint from a
you
staff member
appreciate
saying
it.
I've caused them
Wait
upset?
till I finish. Wait. You've got your opinions that you've formed on the research that you've done.
Sure.
And that's fine. And we're able to agree to disagree. I don't have a problem with that. We will follow the process and the policies that we're happy with.
Mhm.
And if you disagree with them, then you've got options.
Okay.
Okay, we've all got options at the end.
Of course we do.
So, I think that's the purpose, and talking any further is going to get over.
So if I come and film, am I going to be asked to have my property searched?
No,
Right.
that isn't what we've said. So what we've
That's
said...
what this says here in your revised policy, that your staff...
I think let's leave it, and I think that...
I need to know that I'm not going to be harassed should I choose to use Westwave Pool.
Well, I think that's like a have you stopped beating your wife kind of question.
What do you mean by that?
There's no sensible answer to that. So what we've said...
Will you staff leave me alone while I'm there enjoying my time with the
It
kids?
will entirely depend on what you're doing.
If you breach our policy...
And exercising my right to film is perfectly legal and lawful.
in your opinion. If you breach our policy, if you breach our, to answer your question, and if you let me answer it,
I always rebut. When someone says something wrong, I will rebut it straight away. So that's why I interrupt you.
Don't interrupt, and you'll perhaps understand better. If you are there and you breach our policy, I suggest it's most likely that your admission will be revoked.
Okay, so the policy here says I'm allowed to take photographs?
I'm just
so would that be in breach?
I'm not.
You're mindful of other people's privacy.
Of course.
You're
mindful of our opinion of the policy, and you've got your own opinion, and they may...
I'm mindful of law. I'm a law-abiding citizzen. Opinions and views have got nothing to do with it, or belief.
If they do, you're entitled, your admission will most likely be revoked. And if you decide to challenge it, that's fine, it's your right to do that. Of course. And if we are wrong, then the consequences are the consequences.
Okay, so
in the meantime, if you go down there and you ask, are you going to research, can you continue to take photos, are you going to be harassed? I can't answer that. If the staff decide at their discretion that there is a problem with you, they will most likely approach, I can't guarantee they're going to, but expect that they possibly will approach
they'll be held personally liable for their actions.
And ask you to stop what you're doing. If they feel it's wrong, if you disagree with it, you can refuse to stop, and then most likely your admission will be revoked.
Okay, I get that. That's why he threatened the cops the first time I was there on the 14th of January, because I said to him, this policy doesn't pertain to me, and he was still going to threaten. Well, the 14th of January is where this started. Yeah, it's crazy. It's been going on for 2 months.
Okay, so we're trying to put it to an end. If you want it to continue, that's fine.
It's not a matter of wanting it to continue. I just want you guys to obey the law and respect my rights.
Okay, so you need to understand that we require you to...
I'm not infringing on anybody else's rights.
Policies and adhere to our policies.
No, I'm sorry. Policy requires consent.
The Privacy Act quite clearly says that we can make those rules in a public forum.
By entering there, is there a sign stating this? These new rules? Is there notice? Well, you're saying by entering there I'm consenting, so can you tell me where these rules are that I'm consenting to for a notice, for, like Mount Roskill, giant sign?
Yeah, and that's fine.
So is that there? You're saying I'm breaching policy. Policy's got to be there for people to see, and it's not at the moment. And there's signs saying no photography, and if you've got your no cell phone signs up there at the moment, then that's in breach of your own policy.
Oh, may well be.
Yeah. So are you going to do something about fixing that, or take them down?
I'm sure we will.
So look, I think the key points we've said is listen, we've learned from it. We've cleared our policy. We expect you to abide by it.
You've clarified it. It doesn't really abide, but carry on.
And we don't believe it's unreasonable. We're not saying no filming. We're saying under these circumstances this is okay, and under these circumstances it's breaching people's privacy.
Sure. You realise if like your staff saw someone that they thought was dubious and taking photos that they shouldn't be of children that weren't theirs, that they should just call the police and have the police investigate it because it is a criminal matter, eh?
Under our policy we can take action. You want it to stop. It's been pragmatic. If you see something, you're not going to call the police and wait for ages while a person's been killed next to you. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you suspect or see someone and you don't want to get involved and your staff don't want to get involved, would you not call the police? Of course you would.
Right. So
but anyway, look, I think we could spend
yeah, we could. I could spend weeks.
So
I've spent months already.
Yeah. So let's not. This is our statement of stand, and then.
Okay, you've drawn your line in the sand. I mean, if I go there, I've given you guys notice ahead of time beforehand. If I go there and choose to film, I will. If you guys choose to infringe on my rights, I'll hold you all personally liable. That's it.
And the same right back to you.
Of course.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Awesome.
But I do think, I'd just like to say thanks for coming in.
No, that's all right.
It's been really good.
A really good thing.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you guys have learned from it, because at the end of the day, it just was wrong to begin with.
And that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
I'll see you again. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Sometimes it doesn't let me write.
You got much on for the rest of the day?
Yeah, it's all good at the moment.
Never ends, eh?
Yeah. especially with the storms like that, sort of seems to damage everybody's workload and everyone's stressed and power down, the roads closed.
Stress is the mind's control to choke the living shit out of the person that's annoying you.
It's just...
I don't let stress get to me.
No, neither do I. I'm afraid it's...
With knowledge comes a lot more understanding. I tell you what, I mean,
Well, absolutely.
I've had the Henderson police station re-educated, so
we can all learn.
it's not an issue, because, I mean, they unlawfully detained me outside the cop shop. I was filming them being filmed by a photographer for an 0800 New Cops ad, and they tried to detain me, saying that I was peeping and peering, which only pertains to private dwelling houses at night time, not the cop shop at 10:30 in the morning.
I think, and I tell you, look, I've learned a lot of this myself. I haven't been involved in this sort of one before. But what
It's a changing world.
And there's things in the Privacy Act that where you talk about public place, it's being able to clearly identify what is a public place.
Any place that's accessible to the public, therefore free or free.
This is what I'll possibly...
Summary Offences Act 1981, Section 2 is where it's...
Possibly delve further, but anyway. And what's come out of it to me, it's a bit like if you go into a picture theatre, you pay admission to go in there and you abide by the rules. So if they're playing a movie and you're going to get up and sing and you're going to be...
You're causing commercial harm by releasing that footage.
You're just annoying someone. It's so, and that's again, it's the difference of opinion as to somebody singing. I mean, half the people there might think it's great and clap and want more singing and don't worry about the movie.
Sure.
There might be one or two people there that actually want to watch the movie.
Well,
and the other
there's an expected etiquette in the movie theatre.
It's not, my opinion, it's not black and white and totally clear. And I think this is where possibly some of this, look, I'm happy to be wrong. This is possibly where some of this is coming to. But what I've taken out of this is that the council have looked at it and they've had their team of policy makers, etc., and so on and so forth, legal advisors, and they've got this advice and they feel they've got it right. Doesn't mean they have. They feel they've got it right, and look, they'd be quite happy for you to challenge it. If that's right. But anyway,
that's what case law is all about. I mean,
exactly.
You know, I don't know if you've seen the clip. Have you ever been towed? Have you ever been towed?
No, I haven't.
I caught a guy that was getting towed, and he showed up back to his car, and he had to pay this guy $100 to release the car. Right?
Yeah.
And there's case law, Jameson v. Murray, 1983, where they actually have to release the vehicle because there's a risk of a breach of the peace. Now that the owners come back to take possession, don't have to get in your car, but he had to drop it, and he couldn't charge him a fee. So it just goes to show that if they say, well, we're not going to drop your car unless you pay us money, you don't have to pay it. It's up to the person who ordered the tow. So that guy got skimmed out of $100 in the side of the road. So you know, that's where I learnt that law and put it up, and it helps people.
There's lots of hundred all over the place.
I know. Anyway, I've spent 5 years learning it all. So I'm going. Life's a learning process. Thanks, Selwyn. Have a good day. Cheers. Oh yes.
If you want to contact us, you know, if I don't answer the phone, leave a message because I'll be in a meeting, but I'll answer it straight away. Simple thing.
Good as gold. Thank you, Selwyn. All right, guys. So there you go. They've told me that if I go and upset their staff, that they'll trespass me. Well, obviously. But if I'm sitting there doing my own thing and they annoy me,
so, as I failed to continue saying in that last little bit, if they choose to annoy me, then they're committing a breach of my peace. Under the Crimes Act 1961, Section 42, I could probably just arrest them. Hold them in custody until I call the police and have them come and get arrested, breaching my peace. They're infringing on my rights. They haven't made themselves clear at all. They're stating the Privacy Act, and there's a section about calls. On the Privacy Commissioner, I do believe I saw something like that. But still, I'd like to see the case law that they're trying to cite. They couldn't even name it. So again, it's a good show of what people that, and granted they're only doing their job. I have no ill intent whatsoever towards Selwyn or Sally. You know, they're just doing what they're best informed to do. Just ill-informed, or don't have enough information. So, as for Sally calling me rude, just for her sake, I'm going to face blur out her and Selwyn, and also the reception lady, and anyone else in the council building during that time, should there be any sensitivities there, because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Although I might add, it doesn't matter. There's no legislation against it, and you haven't provided it. I will be going back to Westwave. I will be using the same GoPro that I filmed you at the pool. And if you're saying that I'm filming other individuals' identities, you know, like their name, home addresses, and releasing that shit, then by all means prove it. But yeah, if anybody has an issue with me filming them in public, get the fuck out of public. It's really that simple. And to this date, the 9th of March 2017, neither Sally or Selwyn were able to tell me where this expectation of privacy is derived from. They stated the Privacy Act, they didn't state where, and as far as I know there isn't any. They stated something on the Privacy Commissioner's website, but just because it's on a website doesn't necessarily mean it's backed under legislation. It could just be an interpretation by someone that's not legally trained. Pretty much like Sally and Selwyn. I didn't ask them if they were legally trained. She said she's part of the misconduct or complaints part of the local governments and official information meeting team that's at the council. Apparently they've had all their team working on it. Probably spent thousands through my little complaint. And they still haven't got their shit right. Consent is not required, only on a commercial capacity. And I'm not using it in a commercial capacity. It's for my personal use, however I deem to use it. Okay? If I was to make money from it and someone says, hey, you're using money from my likeness, then it would be for them to sue me. But it doesn't give council any rights. Councils don't have rights. They're a corporation. They can't have rights. They might have legal privileges and legal stuff, but they don't have rights. They're not a human being. They're a natural person. Anyway, enough of my ranting. If anything else eventuates, there may be a part 7 in the future. But yeah, for the most part, right now I'm dealing with the Ministry of Health over vaccinations. I've got a couple of other little things in the works that I've got going, such as Team Traffic and their traffic monitoring system they've had planted all around the place. Yeah, I've got a few little things nesting. So, and I still, don't forget, I've still got old Selwyn Hayworth to take to Small Claims Disputes Tribunal. I haven't finished that one yet. Like, it's just when I can afford to. So, you know, that I consider a luxury. But then, statute of limitations on that is 6 years, so more than happy to give it a go. See you later, people. Bye.